What would you do if the person you considered your sister, your best friend, ripped everything away from you in one swift, silent move? I used to believe betrayal had a sound, like a shattering plate or a slammed door. But no. Sometimes betrayal is silent. Sometimes it creeps in with a smile and leaves you standing alone while someone else sits in the seat you spent years building. My name is Emily Carter, and until that day, I thought I understood loyalty. The room was buzzing. Bright lights, murmured voices, footsteps clicking across polished hardwood floors. I could barely hear myself think over the sound of my own heart pounding in my chest. I stood outside the boardroom of North Star Creative Agency, my fingers gripping the handle of my sleek leather portfolio. Inside, the final decision was being made. My promotion. My dream. My years of blood, sweat, and 2 a.m. emails about to finally pay off. Or so I thought. The promotion for Executive Creative Director had been unofficially mine for months. Whispers in the office, nods from my boss, the recent campaign success. I had earned every piece of it. And there she was, standing beside me like she always did. Natalie Brooks. My best friend. The girl I met freshman year at NYU. The one I helped move into her first apartment. The one who cried on my couch during breakups and brought me soup when I was sick. The woman I laughed with over wine and cried with when our dreams seemed too far to reach. We had built our careers side by side. She was the strategist. I was the creative spark. She knew numbers, I knew emotions. We were a team. We were family. Or so I believed. That morning, she brought me coffee, my usual order. Oat milk, extra foam, 1 cinnamon stick. She smiled like everything was normal. She asked if I was nervous, then nudged me playfully and said, "You've got this. You own this." I smiled back, not knowing I was about to be sucker punched by the person I trusted most. The door opened. Mr. Lawrence stepped out, his face unreadable. His gray eyes scanned the room until they landed on Natalie and me. "Emily." "Natalie. Come in." We stepped in. The conference room was familiar, sleek white chairs, one long glass table, and the view of Seattle's skyline stretching out behind the windows. I used to love that view. Today, it made my stomach turn. There were 6 people seated. Department heads. HR. The CEO. Mr. Lawrence cleared his throat. "We've made our decision." I glanced at Natalie and gave her a half smile. She reached out and squeezed my hand beneath the table. Looking back, I wonder if she was saying goodbye or just marking the moment she took what was mine. Effective immediately, Natalie Brooks will step into the role of Executive Creative Director. Silence. My ears buzzed. Time slowed. The room disappeared. I must have blinked too many times. I must have misunderstood. "Natalie?" Natalie turned to me, her face filled with surprise, and something else. Something slippery. Something that smelled like guilt, dressed up as victory. She whispered, "Emily, I didn't know they were going to." But I knew she was lying. I saw it in her eyes. The worst part? Nobody in the room looked shocked. Nobody even looked confused. They all knew. Everyone but me. I walked out of that boardroom with a tight smile, my heart crumbling behind my ribs like brittle glass. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't even ask questions. I just walked. Down the hall. Past the break room. Into the bathroom. Locked the door. And sat on the cold tile, alone. People think heartbreak comes only from love. But betrayal from a friend? That cuts deeper. There's no romantic pretext to blame. No kiss to remember or breakup to relive. Just silence. Just trust shattered. Just memories that suddenly mean nothing. I didn't go back to work that day. Or the next. Natalie texted me. "Natalie, Monday, 8:13 p.m. Please talk to me. I didn't plan for this to happen. I thought you were getting it too." Natalie, Tuesday, 12:02 p.m. Are you okay? I hate how this happened. Natalie, Wednesday, 9:36 a.m. I miss you. Miss me? She didn't miss me when she walked into my dream and sat there like she belonged. For days I stayed home. Lights off. Curtains drawn. Seattle's rain tapping gently against the glass, like a lullaby for the broken. I stared at my vision board. The sticky notes. The magazine cutouts. Creative director by 30. Start my own agency. Pitch to Vogue. Each one now felt like a joke. I was 29, and I had just been pushed off the mountain I built for myself. Worse, the person who helped me build it kicked me off. But life is strange, painful, chaotic, and sometimes miraculous. Because just as I was preparing to give up, just when I thought my story had ended with that betrayal, something unexpected happened. It began with an email. Subject line: Opportunity. Confidential. I almost deleted it, but something about the sender caught my eye. Jonathan Wexler, former creative VP at Stellarize Media. A legend. A ghost. And someone I hadn't spoken to in years. Inside the email, a short message, a request, an offer, and a question that would change everything. Emily, I saw what happened. Let me buy you lunch. I have a project I think you'll want in on. JW. And just like that, the ashes of what Natalie burned began to smolder again. But I didn't know then that the project he spoke of wouldn't just give me back what I lost. It would lead me somewhere higher, somewhere louder, somewhere she could never reach, even if she tried. People always talk about how childhood shapes you. But I think it's the years when you're just starting to believe in yourself, when you're fumbling between who you are and who you hope to be, that matter the most. I met Natalie Brooks in the fall of 2013, standing outside Tisch Hall at NYU. It was raining. Of course it was. New York in the fall has this stubborn, romantic gloom to it. She was holding a cup of coffee, wearing a soaked scarf, and fighting with a zipper on her backpack. I remember laughing when she cursed under her breath and muttered, "Why does every zipper I own hate me?" That's how we started, two girls with big dreams and broken umbrellas. Natalie was bold, loud even, the kind of girl who made friends within seconds and somehow always had a crowd around her. She majored in strategic communications. Her confidence filled the room, and her laugh? It made people turn heads. I was quieter. I studied advertising and visual arts. My world lived in mood boards, typefaces, and storyboards. I expressed myself through color, layout, emotion. Natalie said I had the gift of seeing things others missed. She made me feel seen too. We were opposites in many ways, but we fit. Late-night study sessions. Nights at Washington Square Park. Crying over career anxieties, breakups, and unpaid internships. There was one night sophomore year I'll never forget. I had just received my first rejection from a major design internship. I was convinced I wasn't good enough, that my portfolio was weak, that I didn't belong in this industry. Natalie barged into my dorm room with 2 pints of ice cream and said, "If the world doesn't see your brilliance yet, we'll just build a new one." I laughed through my tears. She always had a way of doing that, of making me feel like the universe was just misbehaving temporarily. She told me I had fire in my eyes, that I was meant to lead, that I would one day run my own creative empire. She said she'd follow me wherever I went, said she'd always have my back. God, I believed her. After graduation, we moved to Seattle together. Fresh degrees, shaky confidence. 2 girls with 1 apartment and 100 applications out. It took a few months, but we both landed at North Star Creative, an agency known for its high-profile fashion and tech campaigns. I was hired as a junior art director. She was brought in as a media strategy assistant. We worked late. We stayed hungry. We rose fast. By 27, we were both leads on 2 separate teams. By 28, we were collaborating on our biggest campaign yet, Her Light, a rebranding project for a national beauty brand focused on empowerment. That campaign changed everything. It won awards, got published, and most importantly, it put my name in the ears of the right people. It was the campaign that should have earned me that creative director role. Here's the thing, though. Natalie always struggled with being second. She masked it well, wrapped it in sarcasm and casual compliments. But I started noticing the signs. How she'd interrupt me in meetings. How she'd repeat my ideas louder. How she'd suddenly be the one who pulled the team together, even when I'd done the bulk of the work. I chalked it up to ambition. I mean, we were all hustling to be seen, to matter. Still, I ignored my gut too many times. Once, after we presented a pitch deck to a client and nailed it, she smiled at me over dinner and said, "You're magic, Em. But don't ever get too comfortable at the top, okay?" I laughed. I thought it was a joke.
But now?
I think that was a warning. People often ask me what Natalie's motive was.
Did she envy me?
Did she just want the title? Did she ever really care? The truth is, I don't know. And maybe I never will. Let me tell you what I do know. I worked for every single inch of that career climb. While Natalie went home early, I stayed. While she networked, I reworked my designs until they bled meaning. While she smoothed out her image, I burned the midnight oil with bloodshot eyes and a belief that hard work wins. I wasn't handed anything. No shortcuts. No favors. Just effort. And love. I loved what I did. There was one night, just a month before the betrayal, when we sat on our balcony, wine glasses in hand, city lights flickering below. I told her how scared I was to step into a bigger role. How I worried I wouldn't be able to lead a whole department. She looked at me and said, "If you're not scared, it means it's not big enough for you." I smiled. Believed her. The irony is cruel, isn't it? The person who once cheered for me became the one who stole the microphone when it was finally my turn to speak. Let me be clear, Natalie didn't just take a title. She took trust. She took a decade of sisterhood and ground it into dust. That morning of the announcement, I noticed something off. She avoided eye contact in the elevator, kept checking her phone, laughed a little too loud when someone complimented her. But I didn't think too deeply about it. Why would I? We were supposed to be celebrating together. I later found out she had met with the senior board 3 days prior.
Alone.
Presented a revised pitch deck using my concepts. Talked strategy, numbers, vision. She never told me. By the time I walked into that boardroom, the ink on the offer letter had probably already dried. What kind of person do you have to be to look someone in the eye, pretend you're proud of them, while quietly replacing them in the shadows? I don't know, but I know her name is Natalie Brooks. And yet, as much pain as she caused, as much confusion, anger, and betrayal as she sowed in me, she also gave me something I didn't see until later. A reason to become who I was really meant to be. But we'll get there. Because something bigger was brewing. Something unexpected. I didn't reply to Jonathan Wexler's email for 3 days. Not because I wasn't interested, but because I didn't trust myself. After what happened with Natalie, I didn't know if I could believe in anyone anymore. But on the 4th day, something shifted. I was walking past the North Star building, more out of habit than intention. I saw Natalie's reflection in the glass. She was inside talking to a group of clients. Laughing.
Pointing.
Dressed in the suit I once helped her pick out. She looked settled. Like she had arrived. Like she had everything she ever wanted. And it hit me. This wasn't about her anymore. This was about me. What I would do next. What I would become next. So I emailed Jonathan back. Subject. Opportunity. Confidential. I'm in. Where and when. Emily Carter. We met at a little rooftop cafe near Pike Place. It was drizzling lightly, typical Seattle fashion, but the city looked like it was dressed in gold that evening, reflections on wet pavement, string lights blinking above. Jonathan hadn't changed much. Same silver-streaked hair. Same piercing eyes. Same calm presence that made you feel like the room tilted slightly toward him. "Emily," he smiled, rising to shake my hand. "Still the sharpest eye in a room, I bet." I laughed, nervously. "I doubt that's true anymore." "It is," he said, sipping his coffee. "And I'm betting on it." He laid it all out on the table.
Literally.
A folder.
Thick.
Inside. Branding mock-ups, campaign notes, budget projections, target demographics. He had started a boutique agency, Wexler and Wild, quietly, under the radar. It wasn't public yet. He was building a small team to launch their first major campaign for a new wellness company going global. He wanted me to lead the creative vision.
Me.
Not assist. Not co-direct.
Lead.
Why me? I asked, voice barely above a whisper. Jonathan leaned in, his expression serious.
Because I saw what Natalie did.
And because I know you were the backbone of that campaign. She played the politics. You built the product. I sat there, stunned.
He had seen it.
Someone had actually seen it. I want you to build something, he said. From scratch. With no ceilings. I should have been excited. I should have said yes on the spot. But there was a storm inside me I hadn't named yet.
Fear.
Anger.
Doubt.
And something else, something more dangerous. The urge to prove her wrong. That night, I lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. I thought about every moment Natalie and I had shared. I thought about how quickly love can rot. How betrayal doesn't always announce itself. How you can be stabbed and still bleed quietly. And I made a decision. I wasn't going to disappear. I wasn't going to shrink. I was going to rise. But not for revenge. Not even for justice. For me. The next morning, I accepted Jonathan's offer. And that's when things got complicated. Within days, word got out. Not officially, but whispers started circulating. Someone had spotted me walking out of a branding firm near Capitol Hill. Another said they heard Wexler was building a team, and I was on it. And then, Natalie texted me. Natalie, Friday, 6:17 p.m. Are you working with Wexler? Natalie, Friday, 6:20 p.m. Emily, please don't do this. Please don't do this? I stared at the words, stunned. She'd taken everything from me, and now she was asking me to protect her turf? I didn't reply. The campaign project wasn't easy. Jonathan expected excellence, and I was determined to deliver it. The brand was called Soul Thrive, a wellness company built around self-restoration, emotional fitness, and natural healing. How fitting, right? I was designing a campaign about rebuilding from the inside out while quietly doing the same myself. The first few weeks were brutal. Late nights, rough drafts, sketches that didn't feel right, taglines that fell flat. My confidence wobbled constantly. There were moments I cried in the shower, unsure if I had what it took. There were days I almost picked up the phone to ask Natalie, why? But I didn't. I kept going. And then one evening I had a breakthrough. I was sitting on my living room floor surrounded by scraps of paper when a line came to me. Come back to yourself. That was it. The campaign's heart. The message. The story. Not just for the audience. For me. We shot visuals in Oregon. Foggy forests. Women standing barefoot on cliffs. Faces turned toward the sun.
Raw. Real.
Reclaiming themselves. I poured my soul into every frame. And when we launched, it exploded. Viral. Featured in Adweek. Articles titled, "The Wellness Campaign That Made Women Cry in Public." Clients called. Investors lined up. Jonathan hugged me the day we hit our 3rd million in pre-sales. You did this, he said. You changed the tone of the market. But with success came noise. And one particular email I wasn't expecting. North Star Collaboration Inquiry. From Natalie Brooks at northstarcreative.com. Emily, we're exploring a co-campaign with Soul Thrive and would love to set up a collaboration meeting. Let me know when you're available. Natalie. I sat there frozen. Was she serious? She wanted to collaborate? Now? After everything? I didn't reply. Not right away. I forwarded the email to Jonathan. He responded simply, "Your call." And that night, as I walked through the city streets, wind in my hair, campaign lights blinking from digital billboards, I asked myself one thing. Was this the moment for confrontation? Or closure? I agreed to the meeting. Not because I wanted a partner. Not because I needed closure. But because I needed to see her. Face to face. Without filters. Without corporate smiles or rehearsed lines. I needed to know if the Natalie sitting across from me was the same girl who once shared ramen with me on a Brooklyn rooftop, dreaming out loud about the future. Spoiler. She wasn't. We met in a private conference room on the 17th floor of the Wexler and Wild building. Glass walls, minimalist furniture, skyline views. I walked in wearing the same gray blazer she had borrowed from me the day of her lights pitch. Felt symbolic.
Necessary.
Natalie was already seated.
Calm. Composed.
Her posture perfect, her phone face down, her lips painted the same berry red she wore the day she signed my future away. "Emily," she said, rising slightly. "You look different." "I am," I replied. We sat. Silence. Tension thick enough to shatter glass. She opened first. "I know you probably hate me." "Probably?" "I don't hate you," I said. "But I don't know who you are anymore." Natalie looked down. Her fingers fidgeted. "I made mistakes," she admitted. "Big ones. I was scared. Insecure. I thought if I didn't act fast, I'd be left behind. You were getting all the attention. The credit." I raised my brows. "I earned that credit." "I know," she said quickly. "You did. And I didn't mean to take your moment. But I saw the opportunity. I just took it." A beat passed. Then another. "That's the difference between us, Natalie," I said. "You took it. I built it." She swallowed hard. "I regret it, Em. Truly. I miss you. I miss who we were. I didn't realize how much I needed your friendship until it was gone." That hurt more than I expected, because part of me did miss her. The before her. The untainted version. The Natalie who danced barefoot in our living room after we signed our first lease. The Natalie who held my hand when my dad got sick. But she wasn't that girl anymore. And maybe I wasn't that girl either. "I'm not going backward," I said, steady. "I'm not coming back to North Star. I'm not pretending nothing happened." She nodded, slowly. "I figured," she whispered. "But I had to try." She slid a proposal across the table. A joint campaign. North Star and Soul Thrive. Natalie and me. Together again. I scanned it. The structure, the timelines, the brand objectives. It was solid. But it wasn't honest. "Natalie," I said quietly, "you can't fix betrayal with paper. You can't heal a wound while pretending it never bled." She didn't argue. Didn't push. She just looked at me, eyes glossy, smile cracked, and said the words I never thought I'd hear. "I'm sorry. Real, from the gut, painful sorry." And I believed her. But that didn't mean I trusted her. So I stood, took the proposal, and left. I didn't respond to the collaboration offer.
Didn't decline.
Didn't accept. Instead, I focused on what mattered. The Soul Thrive Summit. It was our first live conference. Hundreds of women flying in from around the country to share their healing stories, experience our brand journey, and celebrate reclaiming their identity. I was headlining the final day. Keynote speech. And for the first time in a long time, I felt steady.
Solid.
Like every heartbreak, every betrayal, had built a staircase beneath me instead of a grave. The night before the summit, I couldn't sleep. I paced my apartment, rehearsing my speech, wondering how to summarize everything I'd survived in just 20 minutes. Then I stopped, closed the laptop, and rewrote the entire thing from memory. Because this story didn't need to be rehearsed. It was mine. The next morning, the lights were blinding. The crowd? Huge. The stage? Terrifying. But I stepped up, and I told the truth. I built my first campaign with someone I loved like a sister. She turned around and used it to build a kingdom that didn't include me. For a long time, I let that betrayal define me. I thought I wasn't enough, that I didn't belong, that I was foolish for believing in loyalty. But then I realized something. I wasn't broken. I was becoming.
Gasps.
Applause. Tears in the front row. I continued. We live in a world that tells women they must compete, that there's only room for one. But I say we create new rooms. We don't beg for space. We design it. And when someone tries to take your place, build something so powerful that no one ever forgets your name. Standing ovation. A moment I'll carry forever. Afterward, as the guests began to mingle, someone tapped my shoulder. Natalie. No badge. No entourage. Just her. I watched your speech online, she said softly. You're incredible. Thank you. She hesitated, then asked, Do you ever think we'll find our way back? I looked at her, really looked. I don't think we need to, I said gently. We're already where we're meant to be. She nodded. No bitterness. Just understanding. And then she walked away. That was the last time I saw Natalie Brooks. People always ask me what happened to her. She stayed at North Star. Climbed higher. Won awards. Lost some. But I stopped keeping track. Because I was too busy becoming. Jonathan eventually made me partner. We expanded into wellness, tech, and lifestyle brands. I hired a full team of creatives, diverse, hungry, kind. We built a culture where no one had to steal to feel seen. And most importantly, I came back to myself. Sometimes I still wake up and forget. Forget how far I've come. Forget how much I've healed. Forget that I was once a woman standing in the ashes of someone else's ambition, wondering if I would ever feel whole again. But then I breathe. And I remember, not just what happened, but what didn't break me. You see, betrayal isn't just a crack in a glass. It's a mirror that reflects what you didn't want to see. It shows you the fault lines. In your trust. In your love. In the way you silenced your own brilliance so someone else could shine. But if you're brave enough to keep looking, it also shows you something else. Your power. Your fire. Your rebirth. I used to think strength looked like silence. Like pretending nothing bothered me. Like smiling through betrayal, nodding through pain, letting go without asking why. But that's not strength. That's survival. Strength is saying no more. It's choosing truth, even when it shakes your voice. It's walking away from what you once begged to stay. It's forgiving without inviting someone back into your life. It's building something so divine, so undeniably yours, that even your silence roars. To anyone who's been betrayed, by a best friend, a lover, a family member, or even by yourself, I want to say this. You don't have to carry that shame. You don't have to prove your worth to people who never saw it. You don't have to go back and explain your boundaries just so someone else feels better. You get to move forward. You get to heal. You get to begin again. Sometimes, the unexpected doesn't come wrapped in a miracle. Sometimes it arrives as a loss, as a goodbye, as the realization that someone you loved chose themselves over you. But what if that was the miracle? What if that betrayal didn't end you? It freed you? What if that loss gave you a blank page? So you could write your true story? I never imagined my greatest teacher would be the woman who hurt me. But in her absence, I found my voice. In her ambition, I found my own. And in the shadow of her betrayal, I found my light. I hope you find yours too. Whether you're still in the storm, or just stepping out of it, remember this. You are not what they did to you. You are what you became in spite of it. You are not their lies. You are your truth. You are not replaceable. You are irreplaceable. And your place? It was never theirs to take.
So rise.
Rebuild.
Reclaim.
Take your story back, word by word, breath by breath. And if someone ever asks, how did you do it? Smile. And say, I remembered who I was.